Okay, we are back with another video. So just for a recap, we have the engine out of the car now. So engine's out, we've got some bolts for the engine stand, so she's all up and rearing to get worked on. So we've got that all sorted. Engine's out of the car, the whole front end's out. So today we're going to be attacking the whole rear end, get the rear corners off, including the gearbox and also the drive shaft. So we'll start working on that and see how far we get. Welcome back everyone. So as you can see, just getting the axle nuts off for the brakes. Brakes came off relatively easy, but the axle nut didn't. Had to get the big girl out, and yeah, it came off right away with that thing, so it was good. Okay, so the rear right rotor's off now, so we're just going to attack and keep getting everything off. It looks like it runs a drum brake for the handbrake, and obviously normal disc brakes for normal pressing of brakes. So we'll keep getting this rubbish off and go from there, really. If I had $1 for every time I said and crack on and all that, Jesus Christ, I'd be able to build this 944 instantly. Managed to get the drum brakes off pretty easily. There was grease everywhere, so I think one of the bearings has given way and just blown out everything. There's not normally that much grease on the rear brakes. The hub off now, so we're going to go get the axle out that's behind me so we can drop that out, take the shock out, and the rest of the suspension in this rear right. That's the handbrake system there, that's just hanging there off the handbrake line. And, everything's in the right rear box, so yeah, we'll crack on and start attacking that. So jump straight into getting those axle bolts out. They came out fairly easily, minus just all the grease everywhere, so clearly both of the boots were leaking. It was quite the mess. As you can see here, I had to hammer one of the the bolt head in because I think someone's tried to thread it or something. Had to do it again, but yeah, like grease everywhere was no good. Got absolutely filthy. So I put some gloves on, so it was a bit easier to carry the camera around without getting it dirty. Okay, we've got the shock out. Shock's off the right rear corner. As you can see, that's it there. It's so weird. It didn't run like any springs or anything, so I don't know how that all works. Maybe it did, but I'll make it put springs back on the car when he changed shocks. I've got no idea, but the shock's actually stuffed, like really bad. I squeezed it in, it didn't come back out, so I've got no idea what's going on there, but the shock's out. Trying to get this sort of right rear corner off, like there's no real like control arm or anything. It's sort of like all connected to the other side, so it's being a pain because it's been sprayed underneath with all the bolts still on, so everything's like bound on and painted on and rusted on as well. So WD-40 is like at its max at the moment, but I guess we'll still try and get the rest off today. It's such a pain to get off, I've got no idea why, but yeah. Started taking out the other axle, and some fellas like snapped one of the axle bolts in the hub, so I'm gonna have to drill it out with that special tool. So if that doesn't work, I'm gonna have to TIG a little head on and try and do that, but it's definitely stuffed, that is for sure, properly in there. So that's a shame. It's so greasy and dirty on the back side. So yeah, literally oil everywhere. So hasn't been well looked after in the back side of the car, that's for sure. So we'll see how that goes. Video, mate.
Just when I thought I was done with go-karts, I'm back there, back to the basics.
Oh, we got KZ.
KZ.
We're gonna do burnouts later when we get it started.
KZ, thanks to Parallel Australia, they've been awesome to us with this kit. So
that's true.
If you're getting into karting, speak to Robbie and Shane at Parallel Australia. Great bunch.
So the whole other side is done. We've got the shock out, brakes out, axle out, all that sort of stuff, handbrake, all that done. And change of plans, because what we're gonna have to do is, since the hoist is lifted up from the rear subframe, we're going to have to change that. So what that means is move that, lower the car, so we can get the whole subframe to drop out altogether, because this whole assembly is just all rusted, and I think it'd just be way easier just to build it outside of the car and then put it all up So we'll do that, then we can get the transmission out as well when we drop the subframe out. So we'll do that tomorrow. It's late now, and yeah, so basically we've got the whole rear end out today besides the subframe and the transmission. Okay, it's now the next day. Just for a recap, we've got left and right like rotors and all that sort of stuff off. We're hoping to drop the whole rear subframe all in one piece today and also get the transaxle out, so we're going to give that a go. There's a lot to do. We're going to have to lower the car, move the mounting points from where the hoist is, and that will just give us more accessibility to get the rear subframe out. So we'll get that done, and hopefully the rear subframe comes out easily. It looks like it's got a lot of underbody paint on all the nuts and bolts and stuff, so it's a bit of a pain to get out, but yeah, it should be alright with some breaker bars and some rattle guns. So we'll give that a go and get started. This is properly doing my head in. I've just spent the last hour trying to figure out where to lift the car from besides the rear subframe. I've got no idea. So I think what I'm going to do is continue stripping sort of everything else other than that rear subframe. When Dad gets here, I'm going to get him to give me a hand to get the transaxle and the drivetrain out. But I'm going to take the doors off, take the rear boot lid, start attacking the interior from the back, and then early next week I'm going to make like a frame so we can roll the car around with no wheels on, and then I should be able to move the car back where I'll actually turn it around, have the engine side this way, so I can get the mounting points right, because where they were is sort of like was moving the car. I'll chuck a clip in if I've got it, but it's pretty dangerous, so I'm going to get the car rotated, and then I'll take the rear subframe out. It's a bit safer, so I'll just take the boot lid off, take the the doors off, you know, the rear bar, all that sort of stuff today, just until I get that frame sorted, so I can move the car around with no wheels and get the car turned around and put on the hoist a different way, so it's a bit safer. So we'll get started with that. Interior will be done when I get that sort of frame built as well, just so I can get in and out a lot easier without having the hoist in the way, so we'll get cracking on that. Yeah, it was pretty easy getting that front guard off. Came off relatively easy, no hassle. I think it was about eight bolts that came off, and it popped straight off with no silicone, unlike the other side, which you'll find out shortly. Okay, we've got the fender off, the slave cylinder for the clutch, and also the steering shaft. So everything's out on this side really. This is just the throttle cable that it's a bit of a pain to get to, so I'm going to have to go from the inside. There's not really much else. Brake booster's going to have to be from the inside as well, but really it's just all this wiring stuff that won't be too hard to take out down the track. And then I'm just going to start taking out the little things, like take these rivets out for the hood latch, I think, yep, that's what it is. And really dig into this wiring down here, just rip as much as I can out. I've had a proper gutful of this front left quarter. I'm gonna get the hacksaw out and just cut it out. Like, this fella has properly put so much silicone on it, you can't even like lift up the front end just a little bit, like you're lifting the whole car up. That's how much silicone. There's no bolts, there's nothing on there, so I'm gonna have to sort out another front left fender. It has marks on it and it's cracked anyway, so I think I was gonna get another one, but to save my sanity, the hacksaw's coming out because I've had an absolute gutsful. So we'll get started on that, cut it out, and yeah. We have cut the front left quarter panel off most of the way, so this is what's left of it. This is all out. Just get the light so you guys can see. So I've cut it as much as I can. Just to put in perspective, look how much silicone there is. It's ridiculous. I couldn't get it out, so this is the easiest way, so now I can access it a bit better, and then yeah, access it a bit better, take the whole quarter panel off. I'm going to need a new one anyway, like there's heaps of bog on this one, so I was always going to replace that front left quarter panel, so it's off now, and I guess I'm just going to keep chipping away to get that sort of last seam bit out, and yeah, continue what I was doing. Okay, front left quarter's off. It took quite a while because of all that silicone, but there's a reason why, and let me show you why there's a bit of silicone. So we've got a bit of rust here. Let's just get the light, let's focus. There we go. Yeah, there's a bit of rust in the corner there, which it's a bit of a shame, but well, it is what it is. So it looks like it's definitely going to need some fabrication in that quarter, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. You should see the end result of that quarter panel. I had to cut so much out of it. Look how much silicone there was. It was just ridiculous. So there was no way this was coming out like the other one was. So it was obviously hiding something, and that was the rust in the corner. So the rust doesn't look too bad. It just looks like a bit of surface rust. And it gets quite bad in the corner, but it won't be too bad to repair. So yeah, fingers crossed when it comes out of that acid bath, it's not terrible. Okay, so quick update. Everything's off the front now. Like, I can't physically take off anything more in the engine bay. If you can see, it's all attached from the inside. So when we pull the interior apart, then we can get the rest of the stuff out, such as wiring loom and that brake booster. But we've got the slave out. So now what we're going to do, we're going to attack the rear. So we're going to take the lights out, the lower bar, the hatch, and maybe even start taking the inside out, drop the fuel tank. Oh wait, we can't do that. I haven't taken the diff out. That's later, but the carpets and as much as I can from the back until we can get the car turned around. Right, so I've taken most of the carpet out of the back. All the bolts are done for this right rear tail light, but I think you siliconed it in again. It won't come out. I've got no idea what to do. I can't exactly cut it out like I did with that front left fender, but it's stuck in again. I don't know if it's a factory thing for the tail lights, but there's a lot of silicone and it's not popping out. So I'm gonna have a bit of a dig with the razor. If not, I don't know what I'm gonna do there. Maybe I'm gonna have to find some new tail lights as well, but yeah. Yeah, I wasn't joking. There was silicone on the tail lights. Like, I don't know what this bloke's doing. I don't know if it's factory or not, but I've never had to take out silicone in between obviously the shell and the headlight before. Like, oh sorry, the tail light. Like, there's so much silicone. I've never seen that before. All along the crack there. I don't know what the go is with this car, but I think we're gonna have to nickname it Silicon or something, because there's that much on it. The whole chassis is pretty much silicone. It's just one rubber blob of plastic. Okay, I take back what I said. The other headlight also has silicone on it, so I'm guessing it's a factory thing. It looks pretty old. It doesn't look new, the actual silicone, so it must be a factory thing. But the front end, that's definitely not factory. There's a lot of silicone there, so we're still nicknaming this car Silicon, that's for sure. Okay, so tail lights out, bottom rear bar out. That's pretty much it from the rear end. The tail lights were pretty easy to get out, so wasn't too much of a hassle. Didn't show any underlying rust issues or anything when we took the carpet out as well. But this is what a 1980 spare tire looks like. Yeah. No further comment needed, I guess. But yeah, everything's pretty much out. I'm sort of having an internal debate whether I get the car acid dipped or sandblasted, but I think the sandblasting option's a lot better for this car, just because, you know, trying to get all the acid out of the nooks and crannies can lead to a lot of issues down in the future. But yeah, I'm just going to keep stripping this thing and see where we end up today. So this rubber hatch here, we're going to get all done in carbon. So there's not going to be that crappy 944 rubber boot lid. We're going to have it done in carbon, which is going to look awesome. So this is the part where we get the hatch off. This thing weighs a ton, just that curved glass. And mind you, they're quite expensive because people break them taking them out. I don't know, I guess they're fragile, but had one of Dad's mates, and obviously Dad helped get the hatch off. It came off fairly easy, which was really surprising, but it probably weighs about 30 kilos itself. Okay, so the hatch is out, we've got the carpet out, tail lights out, lower rear bar out, and that leaves us it for the rest of today. There's not much really we can do until we get the metal to make that frame. So thanks again for everyone watching, really appreciate it, all the kind comments and messages. It's been really good. Thanks.